Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the new Sustainable You, Fighting Food Waste. That's our topic today. And I'm sure you all have your own methods to fight food waste, but I'm going to talk about what we can do here in Yonkers and in Westchester, because we have an official composting program. For those of you who live in apartments, Yonkers has a nifty little compost bin, and they have a big compost bin, and there are bags that go with it, and that can be dropped off to the composting center on Sawmill River Road, 735, I believe. But really, what does it mean fighting food waste? What does that mean? What does that involve? How does it happen, right? Why do we waste our food when we're all starving, hungry? We need lunch. How does that happen? So we're going to go through some of the slides, and then we'll talk some more. Okay. So where does our kitchen garbage go? And this, we could be talking about any kitchen garbage, like a restaurant or a livestock farm. And by livestock, I mean livestock that is sent to slaughter to, and then, processed, which is a fancy way of saying butchered, and brought to the stores, ShopRite, Stop and Shop, things like that. So our kitchen garbage, when we don't personally compost it, goes to a landfill. And that's a lovely picture in the corner of my slide, showing a truck dumping off tons of city or state food. So many of us, most of us put our garbage in our garbage can, and then it gets dumped off at the dump. And there are a lot of numbers going around what is the percent of our food that gets wasted. And a lot of places will say 30%. It's really a lot higher than that if you calculate it in terms of calories, right? If you're talking about industrial farming and industrial livestock, that's different, because those two industries, they waste a lot of parts and pieces, and a lot of it rots before it even hits the store. And much of that, all the rotted food obviously has to go and get dumped. And these companies don't have their own way of composting. Westchester now has a nifty little website that involves that they have their own composter. But it does mean that you will have to take it to that rather than have it picked up. Scarsdale is one town who has instituted garbage pickup and compost pickup. And then they process their own compost. And compost can be processed in two different ways. In a backyard composter, that involves a lot of oxygen, and that's called aerobic. It's a way of processing, breaking down all of the food and the rotted food and the bones and meat and whatever else you put in your compost, leaves, twigs. That's done, and that is more efficient. It's done with oxygen, but it takes time and effort. You have to go in, turn it over, make sure that it gets more oxygen to each part. Anaerobic breakdown is with a lack of oxygen, and while that is faster, nobody really has that kind of facility except in a huge facility, and that takes a lot of energy, like electricity or gas and oil, depending on where that type of facility is located and what kind of energy they would use to run their big fancy composter. I have my own system. Does anybody have anything they would like to add to that? Like, what do you have? What do you do? Do you compost your food?
No.
No.
It's Barbara.
Oh, you don't compost your food.
No,
And
we've been
why not?
talking about it, and the town is trying to install a program. They're working on it, but no, I throw it away in the garbage. I do recycling though.
What is it? Yes. And what is it that most people are concerned about having a compost bin in their backyard? What are we concerned about?
Animals,
Right.
raccoons.
We're concerned about raccoons and things like that. So a solution to that is to make sure you have a composter that's sealed. It can get air to it, but nothing except for maybe tiny bugs can get in. So that's one solution. I know it's not a really exciting solution, but no matter what, there's always going to be animals around, especially where humans are, because there's no way to control what's out there and what they can eat. I mean, in the absence of human food, a veggie eating animal will eat clover. They will eat leaves that are tasty, like my
Right.
fig tree on the side of my house, which is sort of squished. The little green figs that come out get eaten right away. Or like my sunflower plant. How many of you plant sunflowers? Mine got destroyed because the stem and the leaves that come out are very tasty. That got destroyed by birds and squirrels.
Wow.
Yeah. So we have these, this is where our kitchen garbage goes. And when it goes to a landfill, it produces a large amount of methane, which is a greenhouse gas. So it traps it traps the sunlight, it traps carbon in our atmosphere, and that creates problems in our breathing air. So let me go to the next slide. So food recovery. So I was talking about a nonprofit Feeding Westchester. The county sponsors a food recovery program where we're saving millions of pounds of food to redistribute. Now, does anyone know where, what other stores redistribute food? Do we know one store off the top of your head that would take their food at night when they're shutting down all their coffee machines and putting food away? What store do we know? Who is that? Whole Foods. Whole Foods, right?
Yes, Whole Foods,
Whole
definitely. Yeah.
Foods. And Starbucks. Starbucks will redistribute their food, but that's more on a local level. I know that Starbucks, at the end of the day, they will give things out, especially as they're approaching the Best Buy date. So, and we're going to talk about that. Expired, Best Buy, used by. We're going to talk about all those. So composting at home. So Westchester, especially to the northern towns, they have distributed compost bins. Yonkers has distributed its compost bin. There's an even bigger compost bin than this compost bin. And then rain barrels in order to trap rain. You could do that yourself. Get yourself a big either plastic or wooden barrel and collect rainwater. When you look up on YouTube or on Google, they give you all kinds of instructions for trapping rainwater and then feeding it to your grass or plants. Some towns have municipal curbside pickup and volunteer food scrap drop-offs. And then there's a spot in Valhalla that has a space for composting. It's a small food scrap composting area. So those are some of the things that we can do, but also Yonkers has one, just so you know, for those of you living in Yonkers. Long Island has a couple, not many, but some. So I was thinking, what are we gonna do with leftover foods? Look at that great blender. blender. What do we do, for instance, and I put this up on the blog with the help of Allison. Allison and I co-wrote a blog for YPL. What do we do with leftover bananas? You go out, you buy bananas, and you get through maybe 3 before you get to this point. Very ripe. Some people like to eat them that way, okay? My suggestion is, if you start to see the spots, not the heavily spot, because this Zoom program deals with a lot of spots today. I'll explain later. So what you can do is take your fresh bananas. He's not looking very fresh. And you peel them and you put them in, you peel all of them and you put them in a baggie. This is a baggie of frozen bananas. And at the time I thought I was being smart. I was not so smart. I left the peels on. Not appealing. And then when I was making the video for the picture that you see, I had to peel off frozen peels. So that's why I'm suggesting you can freeze these. These freeze very nicely in a baggie or a reusable bag. I reuse any baggies I have. You can just wash them out. My daughter actually puts them in the dishwasher and they don't melt. So what am I going to do? Take this one banana, put it in there. Ooh, going to be great. And now I have the peel. So take the peel and put it in there. This is called no food waste. You don't waste it because now I'm going to compost that. My daughter Maria also makes lemonade and I take the rinds and as you know, I make a vinegar cleaner out of it. I'll go grab it in a minute. So we have these, the bananas, and then I had strawberries in the house one day and I froze them. I took the tops off. I did this all by myself and I put in the strawberries. You can do that with any food. Hang on, we're not done yet. And then I know I had a bag of other fruit. Okay, it's disappeared. Anyway, then you take your milk and put it in, and then you blend. And I don't have the top to that blender, so this is not a good idea to go blending just yet. I'll continue. So all you have to do is set it on a smoothie setting, or high blend, and then you get yourself a nice fruit smoothie. No added sugar, just the sugar from the fruit. There's a lot of sugar in bananas. There's a lot of sugar in strawberries. If you wanted to add like a no glucose sweetener, if you have diabetes, you would probably drink half of this and share it with a friend. You can put in anything, vanilla. You could put in, I suppose, if you wanted to put in ice cream, you could do that. Yogurt is a great addition to this. Oats. But I just wanted to go with a basic smoothie. If you don't have any of those ingredients, you can make substitutions, okay? Like oats, like, I suppose you could put in cream of rice. I wouldn't do that. But oatmeal goes very nicely in there. And then you could put in any other kind of like powdered vitamin thing that you use when you go working out. And then you just blend it up and you have yourself a smoothie. Okay, any questions? Any questions? No? Okay, let me continue with our terrific thing here. So this is what I was talking about, leftover ingredients and what to do with them. You can use bananas, peaches, mangoes, blueberries, raspberries, blackberries. Anytime you're making like a little fruit salad, that smoothie that I made, when I put the berry mix in, I got it from ShopRite. And it was the ShopRite blend, their own brand. and it had mangoes in it. And everyone was looking at me, mangoes. Once you blend it all together, it doesn't taste like mangoes, it tastes fruity. And the other thing you can do, this list that I'm giving you, of course, there's a picture of an apple, right? You can put an apple in if you want. But the other thing you can do with an apple is you can either eat it or you can cut it up, you can cook it, and you can also add it to a fruit salad. Apple's great in a fruit salad, but what do you do about the browning, right? Apple's brown. That's where lemon comes in. Rather than use an artificial preservative, which had that phrase has been used since we were kids, and that was a long time ago because I'm 58. You can use citric acid, but you can just use a lemon. If you don't want your apple to brown, how many of you make apple pie? That's one of the things they ask you to put in. Squeeze a lemon over your chopped, cut up apples so they don't brown. Does it matter if they brown in the 15 minutes before you put them in the pie? Absolutely not. Any questions? Because the idea I want to put in everybody's head is taking the food that you buy and bringing it home and being able to sustain yourself on that food without dumping it in the garbage, or having to compost it. Obviously, composting to me is the best choice, or send it to a composting facility. But you want to find ways to save the food that you buy, because now prices in the grocery store have shot up. They're crazy. And so you can freeze all of this. I think when I was younger, I would like freeze a banana. Doesn't it get all weird? It doesn't. In fact, when you go to blend it up with the frozen banana and the frozen fruit, it's great. Okay. So before we move on, I'm going to stop sharing the screen. So let me stop the share. Okay. Hi, everybody. All right. So what I want to talk about beyond what, oh, I am spotlighted. Okay, so what I wanted to talk about beyond just the fruit smoothie is what other foods, like not all of you out there are so into fruit. Maybe you're just into vegetables. Maybe you're diabetic. And if you're diabetic, this is a treat that you save for another time, or when you have counted all of your calories and what you're allowed to have, then you save up those carbs for another time. What about for those of you who like to eat meat? That's your choice. I know, I sound so judgy. Oh, I'm so judgy. Okay, so what I've done, and I don't really like to eat a lot of meat, is that I've purchased cuts of beef in the past. My son also purchases, my choice is to not really eat beef. You can grind your own beef. And well, my son eats beef, I choose not to, but you can grind your own beef, any kind of cut, you can put it together in the food processor, and you can add onions, salt, pepper, garlic. I suggest fresh garlic because it chops in nicely. And you grind the meat. Grind the meat by itself first, then grind your add-ins like fresh onions, fresh garlic. I put in chives and parsley, sage. Sage is a good one. Then I just form patties. I cover them in paper, and then I put them in a bag. And Salvatore goes in the freezer at any time he's hungry, grabs a frozen burger and throws it on an iron pan. Why am I bringing up the iron pan?
Yeah.
Anybody know why?
Yes.
Why?
Because it cooks everything evenly.
It does. It does. It takes time to get the whole thing warmed
Yeah.
up. But what is it about iron that's so good?
It's good for your body, for your,
Well, it's good for your body. A
yeah.
very small portion
I
of
know they used to do,
iron in the
yeah,
pan.
yeah. No,
But here's
I
another.
don't know the whole
No, no,
reason.
you're correct. This is a non-stick pan, and if those of you at home can see, this one's scratched, which means
Hmm.
portions of that Teflon, hopefully it went into the dishwasher, but if it goes into the dishwasher, it goes into the sewer water and it gets processed and either goes into a river, a stream, and the ocean, and then you have these bits from Teflon, which are bad, bad.
Hmm.
Wish I had an eat button because that's what I would use. So no to the Teflon, yes to the iron pan. And so that's one way you can do that. You can do the same thing with chicken cutlets. You can prepare a chicken cutlet any way you want and dump it in the freezer. You can roast your chicken breasts, a whole big chicken, cut it up, throw it in the freezer, take it out in bits for a salad, or you can reheat it and put it over rice. Oh, rice. Let's talk about that. Since we're talking about rice, I I purchased a 25-pound bag of rice. You gotta see. One sec. Ball and Basket. That's the ShopRite brand. Now, I have no affiliations with this. I'm just showing you what I purchased. Salvatore said, go out and please get some basmati rice. This huge bag was filled with rice. We made some of it, and then we had the whole bag just hanging around. I couldn't even stuff it in the closet. So as we used up parts of it, I put it in larger jars and we put it up on the shelf. But let's just say, and I put this on the Facebook, Crestwood Connections, what if you're left, you have all your jars of rice and now you're down to that amount? What do you do with it? You can save it and you can put it in a stew when the stew is mostly done, because I saved the instructions for this rice. This rice takes about 20 minutes. And you save the instructions and or don't ignore the instructions, because stew you can let sit there for hours and you throw the rice in the last 20 minutes, half an hour. Or a soup, right? After you've made stock. Stock. What about stock? Let's talk about stock. So you could do the same thing with soup. Throw the rice in towards the end. Wait till it's cooked, test it, especially if you have just a little bit of it. And this is annoying because a little bit in the bag. What happened? What do we just didn't use it? This is brown rice, by the way. This is kimchi. Okay. I suggest we all jump on this. It's a little spicy. It's unusual. It's not a food that in America it's common. Its origins are in Korea, I believe, Asia. I know they eat a lot of kimchi. But it's found in all our stores now because a lot of people are starting to eat it. I like it in put it over eggs, hot eggs and cold kimchi. You can warm the kimchi up, but it's good because it's a probiotic and it's something other than yogurt, because yogurt has carbs. This is just, this is just cabbage and other vegetables and seasonings. So not a carb. Okay, so let's move on. We're going to talk about soup. Ooh, fancy knife. So one of the vegetables you put in a stock is leeks. They grow like this. Now, when you get the leeks, you put them in with carrots, a whole onion, which I didn't bring here. Leeks are mild onion. They are good when you grind them and turn them into a soup, leek and potato soup. What I did with this leek before we started today was I took all the gross brown bits off. See? because the outer part of the leek starts to get kind of brown and gooey. And where's that? And now with my old bits of leek, I compost it. See? And that's what I do with that part of the leek. And then I chop it up. But hey, I don't want to eat like this tough end. What do we do with the tough end? Well, you cut it off, right? And you peel it apart. This is a tough end. Nah, it's pretty clean. I'll clean it. I'll wash it some more. I'll chop it down, or I won't chop it down. And you can take these tougher ends, chop them a little bit, or keep them whole, put them in water with onion, carrot, celery, not sage, not bay leaf, with every herb, especially parsley, thyme. Thyme is a great herb for soups and chicken. Thyme to me is the chicken herb. I would not make a stock with, let's say, basil. Basil would be bad as a stock herb because it's so strong. When you're ready to take the stock and make a soup with all the parts of the soup, and you get to the end of cooking, throw the basil in, let it wilt a little bit, and then you serve the soup and you have a bit of a basil flavor to it. Also chives, again. And these are the things that we're growing at the raised bed garden at Crestwood. Right in front of Crestwood, we have a raised bed that has just gone from itty bitty, little vegetables to these monsters. There's something growing in there that I don't even remember putting. It's like in the corner of the garden, and it's some kind of bottle squash. I'm not sure that we offered that seed. So it's just amazing, the stuff that pops up in a garden. I love it. Okay. So I also recommend, right, you always keep other beans on hand. If you wanted to try new stuff, follow the directions. And what I have here is yellow split peas. They take a while to cook. They need overnight soaking. You know, you can soak this in stock, cold stock, throw it in, and it absorbs all the flavors and the nutrients from the stock. When you boil something to death, it doesn't give you a lot of vitamins, but some. You get some benefit, which is why when you go to put a soup together, you use fresh vegetables that you don't cook as long as you did the stock. The stock is for flavor, richness, color. Oh my God. Sounding like chef on the TV show. Okay, so there's also lentil beans, lentils, red lentils, which are really good, but they get very, very creamy. And you can add all kinds of spices, which is why I recommend that you have these spices. These spices could be used for dry rubs if you eat meat, like ribs. I have a smoked, volcanic smoked salt. I have parsley flakes. Who doesn't have parsley in their, in their closet, in their cabinet? Also, the herbs that we grow over the summer, we lay out flat and we either let them air dry, sun dry, or oven dry. And this way you have herbs for during the year. One of the reasons why we started the seed library at the Will and at Riverfront and Crestwood was to talk about how we can combat rising food costs. Like, how much is a bunch of parsley? $3.99 in some places, $2.99. That's an expense. And when you buy just a little packet of seeds, you can regrow that because those plants seed, they go to seed. So what else do I have? Smoked paprika. This is my favorite thing. That's good for, like, if you're doing ribs, but you can use this for vegetables. Potatoes, it's good on potatoes. And that's the thing, I didn't bring the potatoes into this. Potatoes are the easiest thing to reheat and use in different recipes. You take a package of small potatoes, boil them up, cut them in half, use some of the halves for a Niçoise salad. There you go. You put it tuna in with string beans, you got a salad. It's great. Tagine is a spicy conglomeration of spices. I know there's chili powder in here and paprika, and there's other things. I've seen this on Arthur Avenue when they bring out the carts with fruit and mango. This gets sprinkled on mango. It's wild. So good. Turmeric,
Okay. Jackie, what was that?
tagine.
Oh,
I'm gonna need the glasses for this one, but let me. This is
okay.
tagine.
Oh, I never heard of it.
Chili peppers, sea salt, citric acid, lime juice.
Wow.
It's I believe it's Mexican,
Mm-hmm.
and you would put it on mangoes. It's really perfect on mangoes.
Oh, it looks very rich.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. And then of course there's cumin, which everybody puts on ribs as a base layer. You don't have to use a lot of it. And a lot of people, there are some people who don't that think the smell is a little overwhelming. So don't use too much, but it's great in a dry rub. Okay. So that's forgot show and tell. So these are frozen vegetables because I had bits left over from what I was cooking, an onion and a leek. And I just threw them in the bag and I threw them in the freezer. And what I did with it was I made a stock. I don't know how the person who packaged this up, they must have turned it upside down in the freezer. Oh my God. Oh, because it was cracked on one end. Okay. So this is a veggie stock that I froze using the bits of vegetables. It worked. You could also do that with if you cook a whole chicken, you drop it in a soup. Put water in it and all the vegetables that you stored from the side, onions, carrots, parsley, celery. That's your base layer for all flavors. So I'm going to move on away from the cooking. And what I will say as a final thing about to answer the question of why food waste happens, there are several reasons. One, we can't eat everything that we buy. We buy too much. Too much is processed, right? Too much is grown. Farmers have found that it is more expensive to harvest a lot of what they grow because they can't sell it or they can't afford to ship it. I've seen some solutions in New York farms where they invite people to take your own. And this way they do their first set of picking and then they invite the public to come in and pick and then have it weighed down by the barn. Several of the New York farms, larger farms, have been doing that. That's a way for them to not waste what it is that they grow, because otherwise you can't afford to pay the people who are going to harvest the crops. Gasoline is expensive. So there are a lot of unfortunate reasons for why food waste occurs on an industrial level. On a personal level, we know why. We're not in the mood. There is a study done about how they have recalculated the real number, the percent of food waste, and it's due to affluence. In a country that is not as affluent, they don't waste the food. There is less percentage, and there's also less food. So would anyone else like to ask any of the questions about food before I launch into our next spotted thing? Anybody? Okay, so I'm going to move on. Don't get scared. If you hate bugs, look away. Spotted lanternflies. This these two pictures I took at 35 East Grassy Sprain Road. When you take Tuckahoe Road and you go down towards the, you go down to that, can't think of it, the office store. Okay. Anyway, I went down there to make a deposit at the Webster Bank. And I started seeing flying. Jumping. Actually, about 2 months ago, I saw these jumping things, and they were red and spotted. A lanternfly starts out as black with white spots, as a little jumping little nymph is called. This is the adult stage, the picture that I'm sharing on the screen, and it has wings. It doesn't bite, it doesn't hurt you. It's more afraid of you than you are of it. So the second it sees you go like this, and they have eyes, they jump away. These ones fly away. That picture to the right is an egg sac. Now, why do I bring up the spotted lanternfly? Because they are destructive, and they are especially destructive to some of our favorite trees, like the maple tree, black walnut, vines, cucumber vines, right? I saw them all over my cucumber vines. So there's a couple of solutions that we have in terms of getting rid of them. Okay, one is to squish them. The egg sacs, I found it on the website, on a website, where they ask that you report them. They suggest that when you see the egg sac, to take a card. This is my health card. I'll turn it this way. You take the card and you go like that. You scrape it right against the egg sac and squish the little eggs. Sounds gross? It is. Make sure you have napkins, tissues, or paper towels. I suggest you do it, as gross as that sounds. Because one, you're not going to get infected with anything gross. You're not going to turn into a zombie. And you can always use wipes, right? We have all those wipes left over from COVID. Let's make use of them. This, what I'm showing you here, is a spotted lanternfly trap. First one. And it was created by a young woman, Rachel Bergery, who won a science fair. And she took tin foil, a thing of tin foil. I'm just going to do a little one as an example, and created a round ring and wrapped the ring around the tree. He bent it to make sure that it fit the tree. Now, why did she do that? Ooh, let's look. So she wrapped it to fit the tree, and then took another plastic ring that she took from a water bottle or any kind of tubing, any kind of solid tubing, and she put it up against the tree, right? And she taped it down and then squished this around the tree, because she noticed that lanternflies, they attach to a tree, right? And they climb up. So if you have that, you know, the aluminum ring around the tree and you bend it up, they don't really think about jumping around it. They don't. This girl caught 1,200 of them. I guess she counted them separately in 2 traps. So right here, you see where I used a water bottle and some tape, and then I wrapped the aluminum foil around the tree. And then I took this kind of netting. Crestwood purchased, through the Friends, thank you, Friends of Crestwood Library, we purchased netting. And it's the kind of netting that, of course, a bird can get trapped in. But I kept it around, I put it around the tree so it would trap the lantern flies only. And I didn't put any sticky tape because horrors have happened with little birds getting trapped to trees on sticky tape. Birds, bats, butterflies, things that were good pollinators ended up on the sticky tape. So the idea is to try to trap the lantern flies so they just go up that little tunnel. Does it mean that you won't trap ants? No, but an ant can get out of it. For some reason, these guys don't think about going down. I think an ant will turn around and go down and go out the little tunnel, but the lantern flies never seem to. So when I go to the library, I'll probably check the trap. However, we have noticed that several of our part-timers and myself have noticed, right? I showed you the lantern flies at the building. They're all over the Metro North trains in all these stops here between Yonkers and the Bronx, and then going up the line to Scarsdale, Hartsdale, White Plains, and then further up. They're and the thing is they attach themselves, and thank you, Say, for adding that to my list of things they attach to. They've been attaching themselves to the trains and the platforms. And the best thing you could do is squish as many as you can. I know, sounds disgusting. Squish them and walk away. And the other thing I did when I first saw the red spotted lanternfly, I sprayed it with vinegar and water. So I took an empty spray bottle. This one I purchased from True Value. I mixed it with a little bit of water. It's 32 ounces. Most of these ounces, there's only 4 ounces of water, 8 ounces of water, and the rest is vinegar, 5% vinegar. This is like cooking vinegar you can eat. They have industrial strength vinegar that's like 45% acidity. I mean, you could probably burn a hole in wood with that. You can also clean your wooden cutting boards with that. But let me caution you. So I did spray those flies with the vinegar, and they slowed down terribly. The problem is, if you get your plant, you have to make sure to spritz the plant, get the vinegar off, because plants don't like vinegar. But I just did it, and then I made sure that I took the vinegar off the plant. Sounds like a lot of work, but if you love your plants and you're going to eat them, that sounds horrible. But do me a favor, in any cleaning situation, never ever mix these two. That's why vinegar's here and bleach is over here. Never ever mix vinegar and bleach. It's poisonous, just like ammonia and bleach is poisonous. So I've kind of rambled on and on and on. Would anybody else like to add anything else? Does anybody have any questions for me? Oh, let me look at the chat. I have 2 things in the chat. So I believe Ruth is here. I don't know which Ruth that is, but if it's the Ruth I'm thinking of, Ruth says, it is Ruth Walter. Hi, Ruth. Thank you for hey.
Hi, Jackie. Such a good topic. Oh my gosh, this is like on everybody's mind. Thank you for doing this.
Thank you. Well, everybody's concerned in Yonkers. Everyone's concerned about if it isn't COVID, it's spotted lanternflies. So it's kind of scary.
Or the orange sky, right?
Or the orange sky. Did anybody smell the air last night? It smelled smoky to me.
Mm.
So there's always something going on. All I'm suggesting is that we make different choices. Try to make different choices. And at Crestwood Library, we can make it fun. We do have a few more packages left of insect repellent, and I'll be making more. I am still in the process of making bar shampoo. Thank you, Ruth. And Z says, yes, Z agreed. Very smoky. The air was just very smoky yesterday. So I am still going to be making bar shampoo, bar conditioner, and I have bar bug repellent, and it works. The bar bug repellent is beeswax, cocoa butter, coconut oil, which solidifies, cedarwood essential oil, and citronella and peppermint. Because, someone from Reed Family has asked me, can you make us how to make anti-itch cream for bug bites? Challenge accepted. Absolutely. Do I know right this moment? No, but I will. I think it would probably involve calendula, which is an anti-inflammatory flower. So the flower itself is and it's good for anti-itching. So yes, we could, to wrap up the season next month, if we have another one, if you want to join us next month, I will present that with the shampoo bars. But please give us a call and request your bug repellent. It's in solid form, and you put it on like the way you would wash your arm with soap, you know. But make sure you're not allergic to citronella, because that's the main ingredient. Most people aren't allergic to beeswax and cocoa butter. However, some people could be. Those are my base things. I can make them out of mango butter as well. But anyway, just call me for any of the ingredients, for any of the methods for making any of this. We will have instructions for the spotted lantern fly trap. There are 2 types, one expensive, one cheap. I'll give you both instructions. And until next month, I'll see you then.